It's on mute.
Yeah.
evening, everyone. Thank you. So, board members, may I please have a motion to commence with facilitation of our public meeting session?
So moved.
Second. Thank you. Board Secretary Shell, roll call, please.
Ms. Burge? Mr. Carlson?
Here.
Ms. Cookie Frankel-Herman?
Present.
Ms. Harris? Mr. Speck?
Present.
Ms. Spina? Present. Mr. Tewari? Mr. Todd?
Present.
Ms. Spence-Wallace?
Present. Okay. Everyone, please rise for the flag salute.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So at this time, I was informed earlier today of a horrific incident that occurred at Robb Elementary School in Uvalde, Texas. And as of 7:44 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 18 children in grades 2, 3, and 4 were shot and killed, and 3 adults. And about a month ago or so, a similar type of shooting took place at the Tops Friendly Market in Buffalo, New York, where 10 people were killed and 3 were injured. So I'd like to ask everyone to please, let's engage in a moment of silence to honor those that have been injured and killed. So thank you, everyone. On behalf of all the board members, Superintendent McLaughlin, Board Secretary Shower, the Superintendent's Cabinet, we welcome all of you. Oh, it's so wonderful to see all the students here this evening, and all the staffing and parents. Thank you so much. We're so glad to have you here at our May 24th,
That's it.
2022 meeting. So first, we're going to hear from our student representative, Joyce Wang. Joyce,
Okay, thank
will you
you
give our
so
student representative report?
Thank you so much. All right, so there's been a lot that happened at MHS and our school district throughout the month of May. It's been largely positive. We're closing out another successful school year. So firstly, AP exams went accordingly. All of our students survived and thrived. Some of them thrived. So we're pushing for guidance counselors to not proctor AP exams for next year. So since AP season is extremely stressful and draining, and May is also Mental Health Awareness Month, it would be, we thought, ironic to have only one counselor available during the 2 AP testing weeks. So we're going to find other teachers who are willing to proctor for next year. So these are ideas bounced around by my brilliant PTSA co-student representatives. So it was a great idea I thought should be brought here. Prom for seniors, obviously it went very, very well. We all had pretty memorable nights. That was awesome. People were made to feel comfortable, to feel safe, to have a lot of fun in a very safe environment. So thank you to Principal Pino and all of our vice principals for creating such a lovely time for us. And it's definitely a memory we'll carry on for the rest of our lives. As most of you know, MHS hosted a walkout recently. And again, I'd like to commend the MHS admin for creating a space of neutrality and maintaining utmost a safe space for everyone there. Montgomery protects all of its students, no matter what their social beliefs are, and that's something very special we have here and something that we must treasure and continue to preserve. On the subject of environmental health in Montgomery, we talked a lot as a PTSA rep group about recycling. So how does our school go about recycling? We were talking about how our school doesn't really recycle because it's too much for the janitors to sift through to separate from the trash and recyclable materials. That is true. Our janitors work very, very hard, oftentimes with not enough recognition. We try to honor them as much as possible. And remember, the most important way to do that is to clean up after yourself during lunch. So they said that we could try building awareness and telling people to recycle so we could eventually get there. So I know our environmental club is very active. Personally, for me, I like the little pictures on the bins, so I know where to put things. But moving on, every final day at MHS is a half day. Principal Pino has been doing a lovely job with emails. That's kept me up to date just on the subject of Principal Pino's emails, which I think were more effective than any newsletter this district has pushed out. So that's all Ms. Pino's job. That's a great job. She actually promoted the rain barrel project that I know my friend Annabelle was hosting for the environmental club. That was very special to me because that showed to me that Principal Pino cares about all clubs in Montgomery and wants us to all succeed. That was very fun, by the way, painting the rain barrels. And now we get some water recycling at MHS. Another thing that my PTSA co-representatives talked about was having a parent representative for each grade. So that's really important because parents obviously have a huge stake in our education and how we behave at school. So they actually encouraged a parent group that's separate from the school. So each grade would have 3 or 4, but it wouldn't receive funding, so it has to be completely volunteer. But I know some parents in Montgomery are very eager to help their students and would love to contribute their opinions, which is also very important to the social discourse of Montgomery. And to some upcoming things that are very important, the senior scholarships are on June 8th. So that's where Montgomery and their partners come to raise some money to seniors going off to college. So that's very, very special to all of us, especially for students going to college, for low-income students. It's just a very considerate thing for Montgomery to do. I know not every school district does that. The academic awards on June 2nd, so that's where we honor some of Montgomery's best, brightest, strongest, and just the best. Which is all of us. It's really hard to choose. And lastly, but not least, please come to International Night on June 3rd. There's some very exciting things that are happening. It's like people bringing their cultures together, and it's a really beautiful thing. There's a dessert bar, which I think is really awesome. And if you happen to have a student in the languages who's going to International Night to receive their syllable literacy, they may have not told you this, but they're going to be singing a little tune in their language that they're taking. So a lot of kids, including me, will be singing a little tune, which, I don't know, come to that, I don't know, maybe don't come to that, but that's really exciting, and also another thing that showcases how inclusive Montgomery is, and we're on the right track, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Joyce, for that outstanding and engaging report. So we're very appreciative of your participation this year.
Thank you.
You're welcome. One more meeting to go.
Yeah.
So at this time, we're going to hear several reports and presentations that we're all delighted to see, which is the reason that all of you are out here this evening, led by our Superintendent, Mary McLaughlin. Mary?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for coming out tonight. I'm going to kick off the night with the Superintendent Report by welcoming our new Vice Principal for Orchard Hill Elementary School, Mrs. Lisa Caudell. I'm going to ask Mr. Dan Van Heist will provide us with a more detailed welcome.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
I would just like to, again, welcome Lisa to the team here in Montgomery. Lisa has spent the last 19 plus years as a 3rd and 4th grade teacher at Amsterdam Elementary in Hillsborough. She has shown to our committee down at Orchard Hill her expertise in many things, including character education, kinesthetic learning, and an overall passion and ambition for driving young learners in the right direction. So we are very, very thrilled to welcome Lisa to the team at Orchard Hill, and can't wait to get started this summer. So welcome, Lisa, and hope everyone has a good night. Thank you.
Thank you. As you can see, we have a lot of students here. A lot of our high school students that have achieved a lot of greatness this year. Mr. Licht is here with, I see his assistant, Mrs. Licht, and the rest of his family, and the robotics team. So we are honored to have you here to demonstrate your robot tonight, and you've been on tour nationally, right? So come on up.
Come on.
Hey everyone, thank you for having us here. My name is Zaid. I'm the logistics manager.
Hello, my name is Alex, and I am the assistant captain of the programming sub-team.
Hi, I'm Aditi. I'm an outreach captain.
I'm Praneet. I'm the electrical sub-team captain.
I'm Rishika. I'm the business communications captain. Hi, I'm Simani. I'm the other business communications captain. Hi, I'm Isha, and I'm the safety sub-team captain.
And I'm Maroon, and I'm the other logistics manager. So welcome to Team 1403. So welcome to Team 1403. In our presentation, we'll be talking about the different things that we have achieved this year during our season, and we're really excited to share that with all of you guys.
We're happy to see it.
Alright, so starting off with what our typical season looks like, as you can see right there. So we first start off with preseason, which goes from the beginning of the school year, starting around late September, going all the way to Christmas break at the end of December. During preseason, we welcome new members into our team and get them trained on all the skills and knowledge they need to know for each of their particular sub-teams. After preseason, the competition is unveiled at the beginning of January. And after the game, of the challenge that we're going to work on throughout the year is revealed, we spend the next 6 months in what's called build season. So during build season, we prototype different designs for our robot and then fabricate the final product. So once we have our final product, we then go into competition season, which is when we use our final product, which you can see right there. We'll show it for a demonstration later on. And we use that to compete in different competitions to hopefully qualify for the first championship in Houston.
So our team is split into two sides. The first side is the robot side, and as you guessed from the name, they work on like the technical aspects of the robot, everything from like wiring to designing it to programming it. And then the other side is the logistics side. So this side focuses on something called Chairman's, and that's basically an award at first that appreciates a team for being kind of like a role model for like other robotics teams and like transforming the STEM culture in either like the local or international community. So in both these sides, there are 4 sub-teams. And then we also have a safety sub-team, which acts as a hybrid between both the robot and logistics side.
So our challenge for this year was known as the 2022 Rapid React Robot Challenge. In this challenge, 6 robots split up into teams of 2, 1 red team and 1 blue team, to try to score as much points as possible for their team before our timer runs out. In this challenge, there was 2 main ways to score points. One way was for your robot to shoot a ball known as cargo into a hoop, which was known as a hub, which is situated in the center of the field. The other main way robots scored points was with the use of a hanger. The hanger was a structure with 4 monkey bars, and if your robot managed to climb onto the monkey bars before the game ended, your team would be awarded points. And so our robot that we use to compete in this competition is known as a Thundercloud, which, as you can see again, is right there. And there should be some video clips of our robot in competition.
Which one do you want to play first?
Left one. Video lead.
Joining the lines number one in the finals. Drivers may have the lines in 3, 2, 1, go.
The second video. Just go around the last 30 seconds.
So we'll show you that right now.
Oh, okay, okay.
We are all lined up. Back and forth, each side go. 46 points for blue, 52 for red. 54 for 708 now, looking go, going all off the mid road, nice and quick. 14 for 3. Mid road, 7 going for the high. 7 times 7 works for Superintendent with 3.
Through our social media, our team tries to get parents and other teams a better understanding on our progress as a team. And more recently, we've been incorporating new forms of content such as Reels, which has been performing pretty well with our followers. On the website side of things, we also try to update it with new content that will help us with our events such as the kickoff and the Montgomery district event.
So in 2015, our team was granted varsity status, and we thought this was something really special because it made us recognized as other sports in our school. And since then, 172 students have been awarded varsity status. So a lot of the requirements for varsity status is following our team contract and code of conduct, 25 volunteer hours, attending 2 days of 2 competitions, 4 of our career classes, attending those, which we'll talk about later in the presentation, 75% meeting attendance, and then 100% build season attendance. So we hold our students to a very rigorous standard for getting varsity status. And then last year on Earth Day, we had a campus cleanup, which consisted of mulching, weeding, and picking up trash. And we plan to continue that this year, maybe like late this month or early in the year.
So this year we donated over 800 items to our Montgomery food pantry and our toiletry drive, beating our record from last year, as well as wrapping up utensils for the Trenton area soup kitchen.
For the past 6 years, Team Fortune 3 has dedicated over 3,000 volunteer hours to mentoring FLL teams 26361 and 26362 from the upper middle school. This past season, we've also started to work with the local Girl Scouts troop, the Invincible Innovators. In total, we've mentored these FLL teams for over 170 hours this season alone through a combination of virtual and in-person meetings. Our guidance has helped the FLL teams grow tremendously, as we oversaw the Thundercats making the Global Innovation Challenge for the second straight year.
So over the summer, Team 1403 volunteered at the high school SOAR summer program for grades 3 through 8. Our members taught the students how to build and program robots using our new Lego Spike kits. Our team also mentored students at the Rockbrook School for Special Education, where we taught students how to build and program robots using the MTSD kits.
So last summer, we partnered with the Montgomery Special Education PTA, and we basically created a program using XVR to teach students with special needs programming over the summer. And we hope to continue this for the following year, and we just did this so that we can ensure equal opportunity for everyone in our local community.
So for our Women in STEM event, we have brought together a group of women who are engineers, researchers, educators, and company owners and more. And through our meet and greet, we have given attendees the opportunity to talk to these women and give younger women the opportunity and encourage them to join fields such as engineering, math, science, and technology. Our Women's Tech Night was virtual last year and allows experienced female team members to educate newer members on CAD, electrical, programming, and basic mechanical skills. Our team also tries to keep our alumni engaged with our monthly Alumni Newsletters, which we started last year. And over the past 18 years, we have tracked down all of our alumni except 20, which is a really big statistic. Here are some examples of our alumni newsletters.
So to make it easier for new members to get incorporated into the team, we started a new initiative in 2020 called Big Cougar Little Cougar. So this initiative pairs up a returning member, a Big Cougar, with a new member, a Little Cougar, and they basically work together to help the new member get more smoothly incorporated into the team. So right there you can see one of the various team building activities that we held. I think we're playing Pictionary right there, but just a fun activity to bring all the new members together with one of their experienced members that they're partnered with.
So annually, every preseason, our team hosts this special meeting in the night called career classes, and we typically host 6 of them each year. And this year we hosted topics such as leadership, engineering design process standards, business etiquette, mental health, and culture. And mentors present these topics first at the career class. For culture, the students actually presented it, which was pretty cool. And then after that presentation, students would be working on an activity with other students as a team to solve an engineering problem, something related to that. And through that activity, they're able to apply what they learned from the presentation or any engineering concepts to learn how to work together as a team.
So one of our most anticipated career classes is the Culture Career class. In the students, we've had members from India, Guatemala, Armenia, and several other countries present their culture to the rest of our team in terms of food, entertainment, and traditions. So by having this Culture Career class, it's been a really inclusive and valuable experience for our entire team. Also, we've invited our sister teams, Team 4481 from the Netherlands and Team Thunder Down Under from Australia, to virtually join us and describe their cultures to us as well.
So we talk a lot about our local involvement, especially with the school and stuff like that, but something we really take pride in is our international involvement. And Team 1403 is a founding core member of the Compass Alliance, which is an international organization of first teams. And through this organization, we provided services such as call centers and help hubs, and we have created 62 resources for other robotics teams to use. And it helps like sustain all these other teams, especially if they're new and or just starting out. They really benefit from these resources and services.
Alright, so now to go over a few of our team's achievements this year. We competed in 4 different competitions. So starting with the Mount Olive competition, followed by the Montgomery event, and then the district championship in Lehigh, and then Worlds in Houston. So at the Mount Olive event, we won the Quality Award, as well as the Robot Game out of 39 different teams. At our Montgomery event, we won the Chairman's Award. So winning the Chairman's Award, combined with the Robot Game, qualified us for the district championship at Lehigh University, where we won the Chairman's Award over there. And one of our mentors, Mike Leitch, you can see right there, won the Woody Flowers Award, which a mentor wins for having a great impact on the first community and not just their team that they're part of. And right over there you can see the blue banner that we won at Lehigh University this year, and that actually got us to the World Championship.
So these are a list of our sponsors who we maintain a symbiotic relationship with. They provide us with resources and funding, and we engage with them through social media and community events.
So going on with the theme of appreciation, our team would not be able to function properly without the love and support that our dedicated mentors give to us. So during the build season, every Wednesday, our mentors meet up in order to discuss the goals that our team has and how to achieve them. And in addition to that, on Saturday build season meetings, members and mentors will work together in order to complete those tasks. And you can see here, these are some of our mentors.
Check out this chairman's video that our AV sub-team made.
Team 1403 strives towards making an impact, the cornerstone of anything and everything we do as a team. Robots are cool, but we are so much more than that. We nurture innovators, thinkers, and leaders who collaborate as one to constantly grow, not only as a team, but as a family. We organize fun, memorable team activities to create bonds that go beyond 1403. Our career classes instill values like collaboration and perseverance that are nurtured through team design challenges. In these career classes, we also have presentations on life career topics, from the importance of mental health, presented by our school psychologists, to the various cultures of our members and fellow FRC teams. Family steps up to help each other when they need help, and 1403 is no different. Our Big Career Little Career initiative ensures that even our newest members can hit the ground running, while creating memories that will last a lifetime. We persevere through challenges to build, share ideas, and show the potential of STEM to soon-to-be pioneers.
We radiate our values of family and STEM outwards into the community, bring people together and highlighting the magic of applying math and science technology. From Women in STEM workshops, to mentoring middle school FLL teams, charitable drives to summer camps, our members dedicate over 1,000 hours this year alone working with the younger generations. With these programs, we hope to put a twinkle in the eyes of the future generations of scientists and engineers. Our extended family is just as important. When a neighboring FRC team experienced destructive floods that ruined their workshop, we offered our materials and workshop to support their efforts. We gather as one family at the start of the season during our Montgomery kickoff event, sharing joy and excitement with the attending teams for what's to come. We are fortunate to have a supportive Board of Education, which makes much of what we do possible and shares our values of STEM for all. FRC is like another family, and we take pride in it. Through the sharing of knowledge, we strive to spark passion and ideas all over the world. What better way to do this than by being a founding core team of the Compass Alliance, an organization that creates numerous resources and runs a call center to assist FRC teams. Our team also engages in resource making in-house, creating technical script editors, tutorials on critical skills, and informational videos to truly enact gracious professionalism in what we do. 1403 is always ready to lend a helping hand. We experience this journey as a family. We are dedicated to this way of life. We are Team 1403.
Also look at our end of the year recap video, which was also made by our AD sub-team.
We're driving cars on a Mars tonight. We're blasting off to the stars tonight. We wanna go, go. We wanna go, go.
Alright, so right here you have a few of our moments from our season this year. At the top left is us at Houston. And right below the image that has the winner banner, you can see us with our sister team from Australia taking a picture. So now we actually have a robot demonstration for you all. So he's got a robot up and running, and we'll give you a quick demonstration. Alright, so now we're going to pick up the ball. Look like we're in the competition.
Stay away from Curry.
Yeah, pass
So this is what our robot would look like in a competition. We have our two balls and we're ready to shoot. Right now, the robot's going to shoot the balls. It won't go as far as an actual competition, but you guys can see how the mechanism works. I could go much farther, but that's in the
Normally I would shoot 10 feet tall. I take the lights out.
And when we do run it, obviously it's going to be like much louder too. Like if we were to shoot in an actual game, it's and as we talked about earlier, with the robot hanging, so this is how the hanging mechanism works. It's like, it's a little rusty from Houston. But typically the arms come up and it kind of pivots itself. And so with the arms coming up, it pivots itself onto the rest of the monkey bars, as we said earlier. So now the floor is open to any of you if you have any questions for us, our team.
So first of all, congratulations. I appreciate all that you showed us because it's not just building a robot and doing the competition. It's amazing how many service projects and activities and leadership skills and just teamwork you guys, all guys, ladies, everybody, get into. And so congratulations on that. The question I have is the challenges, as I understand it, change from year to year.
Yeah.
Are there any design pieces, or do you learn anything one year that help you the next year, or?
Yeah. So we do carry over designs from previous years. So for example, the mechanism that brings the ball up to the shooter from when we pick it up was used from our last year's robot. So we streamlined it so it's faster, more efficient, but we borrowed the similar design using the orange belts. That's been proven effective last season, so we do use some things like that into the next season. But we also designed original parts, such as our hanger. That was completely original for this year, since the challenge required it.
Yeah. Congratulations. Second question, you mentioned about the alumni. Do the alumni give you any comments? Do they give you any feedback? Do they give you any results of what they got out of it, now that they're looking back?
Yeah, so we actually keep in track with our alumni after each season. We send them out forms to tell us how the team has impacted them. We have all of that in our documentation. And some of our alumni return as mentors. So the 2020 graduates, we have 3 to 4 graduates that came back as mentors, and throughout our build season, they come to our Saturday meetings and give us tips, check out how the team's doing. And so we're in a pretty good communication with them.
Amazing, thank you.
Any other questions?
Thank you. Any other board members have any other questions?
No, just go 1403. You guys rocked it, for sure.
Thank you all again, and I want all the students and the families to know that we have some refreshments in the back for you. There's brownies and cookies and water, so please help yourselves. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for this outstanding work. Team 1403. You gotta get family on the back of those shirts, though.
Corporate sponsors. It's all about corporate sponsors.
At this time, I'm going to ask our high school principal, Ms. Heather Pino-Beatty, to come up and start the recognition of the rest of our students here tonight. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. It is a joy to see you all again. I'd like to first just start by saying thank you to our student representative, Joyce, who has worked tirelessly to make sure she's got eyes all over the school and really represents all of our students and all of their interests. Over the time that I've had the privilege to get to know her, she has been as humorous as you guys have enjoyed, as brilliant as you can imagine, and just, I have no doubt that you will continue to make a huge impact on the world as you lead us. So thank you. So before we start with our athletes, I just feel the need to make a brief statement, as it is May, as Joyce noted, and it is Mental Health Month, which is extremely important, and even more so as we continue to witness the senseless acts of violence that plague our nation. This May, we proudly joined the national movement, which started back in 1949, raising awareness and breaking the stigma about mental health. Throughout this month, we have proudly worn green, as I do today, to support mental health awareness. And it wasn't just about wearing green either. It's wearing green and then taking the important moments to outwardly address mental health, the stigma that's associated with tips, strategies, and skills that we can all use to navigate our greater world. We want our students and the greater community to know that we're all here and we all come together to end this stigma and take a stand for what is important, our health, because mental health is health. And nothing matters if you don't have that along with your physical health. In doing so, we're working to change the trajectory of the topic and dissipate the shame. Before we start honoring our students today, I want to continue to encourage you all to create awareness and opportunities for everyone to engage in conversations around mental health in a manner where everyone can feel safe and supported. I want you all to know, my board members, students, families, staff, that we care about each and every one of you. There is nothing that we cannot get through. There is no obstacle too great, and you never have to walk any road alone. I also want you to know that our students are healthiest when they feel connected and valued. And today, we're going to see many representations of that from our students in robotics, the Science Olympiad, and some of our amazing athletes. So now, on to those who have walked the road and are a part of something amazing. They've established connections throughout our community and some very strong connections with our building. So I'd like to first start with our student athletes tonight and introduce Mr. Chris Grundy, our athletic director.
Is it all right if I rotate this? All right.
Please, yes.
It's always dangerous giving me the mic, but we're gonna have that today. Good evening, Superintendent McLaughlin, Board President Spence Wallace, Board Vice Presidents Franco and Todd, other Board of Education members, and Montgomery community. As Heather said, my name is Chris Grundy, and I have the honor and the privilege to be the athletic director of the Montgomery Township School District. I was honored when both Mary and Zelda asked Heather and myself to speak to all of you tonight to highlight some of the accomplishments that have taken place in both our athletic and extracurricular activities during the 2022-2023 school year. Here at Montgomery, we have 34 sports that our students can participate in, and this past year we had 1,045 athletes take advantage of those opportunities. We had teams win conference, county, and state titles, as well as individuals reach certain milestones in their sports. We will also have an astounding 24 student athletes continuing their playing career in college. Tonight, we thought it would be a good idea to mention some of those teams and individuals that achieved greatness during this past sports season. Now, some of those athletes are not here tonight because they're still engaged in their sport and they couldn't make it back tonight, but we're going to honor all of them, even if they're not here. So we are going to first start with Carrie Smith and Ty Greenberg. As I say their name, Carrie, stand. I don't know if Ty made it back from his golf match yet, and if Carrie's parents would stand as well. Carrie and Ty were our Skyland Conference Scholar Athlete Award recipients this year, and Carrie is going on to York College where she's going to continue her career in basketball. Next up, and neither one are here because they're participating in track, but Elizabeth Henderson and Alex Zembrowski. They were our Somerset County Scholar Athletes. Elizabeth Henderson is going to be continuing her playing career in track at St. Francis. Alex is going to Northeastern. And let me double back. Ty Greenberg is going to Coastal Carolina. He said he might do club golf at Coastal Carolina, but he's not sure yet. Next up, Caroline Melhorn. So Caroline was our NJSIAA Scholar Athlete Award winner. She also has a scholarship to Colorado, where she is going to be partaking in cross country and track. And earlier today, at the Skyland Conference Championship meet, she broke the 5-minute mile mark today. I broke the 5-minute mile mark a few years ago. Next up, we have Ryan Curry. If Ryan would stand and his parents stand as well. So Ryan was a 3-year captain for the boys basketball team. He became only the 6th male player in school history to score 1,000 career points in basketball. Ryan was also selected to play in the prestigious North-South All-Star Game, and Ryan will be continuing his playing career at West Point. Next up is Kay Donahue. Kay, stand. Kay also was selected to play in the prestigious North-South All-Star Game at Ryder, and Kay will be continuing her playing career at Lafayette on a basketball scholarship. Next up is Madeline Hogan. Maddie, stand up. Maddie was a captain of both the field hockey and girls lacrosse teams this past year. She also recently joined a very select group as she scored her 100th career goal in lacrosse. She will be continuing her playing career at Stevens Institute of Technology. Next up, we have Brandon Fury. Right there. Brandon was a captain for the football team. He was also one of the announcers for the Mire this past year, and he was also selected to play in the prestigious North-South All-Star football game. Brandon will be continuing his playing career at Marist. And last up, I have 5 athletes that I'm going to honor together. Julie Edelstein, Ayana Jakishin, Sonia Rao, Haley Park, and Joanna Pasaleris. Are any of them here? Oh, there we go.
Yes.
All right. Hey, their parents are here too. These 5 senior student athletes helped to lead our girls fencing team to the NJSIAA state championship and the #1 national state. Thank you all for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you for that. And Ms. Pina, really quickly, as a former high school athlete with the NJSIAA championship as well. And I shared this earlier at a board meeting, and it was really important for Mary and I and the board members to invite you here tonight. We see the value in celebrating each and every one of you. So athletics is not only a way for you to demonstrate your physical prowess, right? So it's also like this pathway for development of lifelong skills in various areas, leadership, mentorship, time management. And it also, research tells us it just yields higher academic performance. And you, athletes, more often than not, hold yourselves to a higher level of responsibility and a higher level of accountability. So we are just, on behalf of the board of Montgomery Township and our superintendent and her cabinet, all your coaches, we are incredibly proud of you. And for the seniors, we do wish you so much success. And we hope that you come back and share that with us in the future. Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't think that I have a good enough word to explain how proud I am of our athletes, our other competitors that are here today, and every student at Montgomery High School. What you are seeing tonight is the very tip of the iceberg of greatness that we represent.
Yep.
I went out of order, so now I'm confused. So just give me a moment. All right. So for our next group that we are recognizing tonight, I would like to recognize our Science Olympiad team. So our Science Olympiad team made history this year, as for the first time since, I believe, 2005, they won first in the entire state. A recognition. In order to achieve this, they have to demonstrate exceptional teamwork, brilliance, and character. And what they're able to do is just, it's nothing short of amazing. They followed up that state appearance with a national appearance, where first, right before the competition and everything that went with it, we were honored to find out that our very own Jason Sullivan was recognized for coaching excellence nationally by the Science Olympiad. So I'd like to take a moment to so that's the entire nation, not just our state. So following our strong finish at states, we placed 12th overall in nationals. So that overall placement comes with a lot of other placements that are underneath it. So I'd like to just take a moment to share those with you. In Chem Lab, we were first in the nation.
Wow.
In Bridge, we were third in the nation. In It's About Time, we were third in the nation. In the Wi-Fi lab, we were fourth in the nation. In Write It, Had It, we were fifth in the nation. In Write It, Do It, we were fifth in the nation. This team has been led by its amazing senior leaders and some pretty exceptional coaches. So I'm going to introduce the coaches, and I will let Mr. Sullivan come up and introduce the senior leaders. So our coaches to this amazing group of young people are Jason Sullivan, Jane Heebner, Rama Balusu, and Chris Resch. So if you would just take a moment with me to thank them. They don't know it yet, but they want to come up here too.
All right, again, thank you all for inviting us here tonight. On short notice, we learned all of this last Wednesday, so probably not enough time to get on the agenda. Share a little bit of perspective. Ms. Pino shared a little bit about some of the events, but just to give you an idea, when they say bridge, imagine in your hand, if you put that out, and you had a nickel and a dime in your hand. Okay? That was the mass of the bridge that was constructed, and it held 15 kilograms. So it's fairly impressive work in terms of doing this. So the technical expertise was extraordinary, and I think second to the fact that this team really came together as a group. And I speak for all of the coaches that was a pure joy to coach and to lead. We started the year at Caltech, which was the national tournament host. We finished 37th at that event. Now, mind you, it was out of 240 some teams, so we were fairly happy, but 37th, so that meant there were several teams that were better than we were, including some in our own state. But they kept plugging on and kept believing in themselves. They just kept going and having fun, and I think that's one of the things that would be a hallmark of our program. Win or lose, we have a good time, and we enjoy one another's company. And I think that part of it makes the late Friday nights when the janitors are kicking us out of the building, the Saturdays when I show up and one other student, Arush, shows up, showing that senior leadership, right? So as we think about all of the times that they spent, really, really great group. Some significant seniors on our team that helped us out: Bonnie Chen, William Hu, Sanjit Kobla, Lance Shi, and Andrew Wan. Our senior captains were truly extraordinary this year. We had here tonight with us Lily Das, who also I think has possession of our state championship trophy. So Lily, if you want to stand up. The last time we had a trophy that size, Rich Beck was I think a first-time board member. So, those of you who have been around long enough know that was a few moons ago that we both had more dark hair, less gray hair, I think, at that time, Rich. So, and I will also say that it was at a time 17 years ago that Mr. Grundy still could not run a 5-minute mile. We'd have to go way, way, way back for that.
Keep going.
Also, seniors, Captain Arush Gupta. Arush. Arush was always the second enthusiasm of the team speeches. We had some junior captains who usually gave us the rah-rah, and then he would step in and really up the game a little bit. And unfortunately, got to celebrate via Zoom with our awards. So we missed you there, but glad you're back. And then one of our senior captains who was part of the Chem Lab first place team, Sean Liu. I don't believe Sean is here with about half of the team who was over at the high school and the orchestra concert tonight. So they have done an extraordinary job. Also have captains at our junior level, Miranda, Caroline, and Anthony. I've got to remember all the ones that are not here. So they did a great job leading this team, and the coaches are there just to watch some really magic happen as they go through that. So thank you to all of them. I would give another thanks to our coaches. Chris Resch and I kind of shared the head coach duties this year, and true collaboration. And I think as we see the seamless kind of work that we can do with one another, that was set the stage the first half of the year for us to have a lot of success. And Jane Hebner is always there to keep us on track and keep us organized, keep us going, focused. In fact, reminded me today that this board meeting was happening. So, and then, of course, Ramo Belusu to lighten the mood and keep our spirits up. He was much more positive about going into the award ceremony than I was, and kept us going, and is a very happy AP chemistry teacher to see his pupils finish first in the nation. So. Thanks again to the team, and thank you again for having us here tonight.
Thank you.
Well, Ms. Bruno, I just want to say, wow, on behalf of the board, how much do we admire your perseverance so much, right? And just really appreciate your commitment, students, to lifelong learning. You know, the experience, I'm sure you reap the benefits of spending so much time together, and not just sharing and growing in your intellectual capacity, but also building trust and compassion and discovering, you know, what brings you joy and pleasure, and to have it, you know, recognized, you know, as a result of this competitive opportunity, and to finish on top. Like, that feeling is just amazing, I'm sure, for you, and we just encourage you to continue to pursue excellence, because it will speak and help build, you know, the integrity that you obviously contain, and it'll be a big part, right, of your experience and the joy of life. So we're so incredibly proud of you, and thank you so much to the staff. This is incredible, Mr. Sullivan. This is remarkable work that you do with our children, and it's just amazing to see. So thank you for your continued dedication and expertise. And as I stated at a meeting yesterday, Mr. Todd, this is what love looks like in education. This is what love looks like in education.
I would just like to close by letting you all know that tonight you had a chance to meet some of our athletes, our academic competitors, and get a glimpse of what our future looks like. And I can tell you that every student at Montgomery High School will be doing big things when we watch them move forward.
We have one more presentation under the Superintendent's Report. We have the Food Service Ad Hoc Committee presentation. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening.
Mr. Accardi, are you going first?
Okay, let's start. Yeah, sure. All right. Good evening, everybody, community and board and staff that's here. We are delighted to talk a little bit about food. I know we talked a lot about our academics, our athletes, our robotics, our scholars, and what they all have in common is that they all eat. So, we are going to talk about another part of love in schools, and that is our food service. So, I am Mark Accardi. I am the extremely proud Vice Principal of UMS. My favorite lunch food is the chicken sandwich. And since I knew I wouldn't see her for bedtime tonight, that is my 14-month-old Veronica eating her favorite food, pizza.
What is it, Mark? What is she?
Pizza.
Oh. Good evening, everyone. My name is Unnati Patel, and I am a parent of 2 elementary students. And I'm also serving as co-president of the Montgomery Elementary School PTA. And my favorite lunch food is peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, which unfortunately our students cannot enjoy, but it's a guaranteed lunch at our house over the weekends. Just to lighten the mood, a little quote: laughter is brightest in the place where food is best. So I'm sure we all have fond memories of food and breaking bread together. So the Board of Education created an ad hoc food committee, and our primary goal was to evaluate our current food service provider, which was Chartwell's, to visit other nearby districts who have different vendors, just to see what's out there and to ultimately determine if we should, as a district, go for RFP.
All right, and food is all about people, and I would like to say that this is where this committee started. So it started with the community, it started with the Board of Ed. I would like to take the moment to thank the Board of Ed for showing us what collaboration looks like through the leadership of Cookie and Alicia, and of course our board president, leading us through the way of looking at what was being brought to us and coming to the table and making a plan. And that is exactly the collaborative approach we took. In order to go there, we needed people. We needed people who love to eat, and they always happen to be the best people. So our ad hoc committee was formed with 4 members from our Board of Ed, 8 members from our community, and 4 members from our staff. Out in the audience today, we have a few of our community members and our staff members who just want to give a nod. Thank you for your time. So the process started back in February. We held our first meeting where Cookie united us all to understand each other, who we were on the committee, why we were there, and we created norms. We reviewed the many aspects of the National Lunch Program, the seamless summer option, the impact that COVID has had on our food services, and the food service budget and staffing. Reviewing all of those aspects was crucial for our committee. Every member of our committee came with a different background and a different experience with food services in schools, so it truly meant a lot that Alicia walked us through what the lunch program was, what seamless summer option meant, and then hearing more about where our buildings were in the world of COVID impact and our food service provider. From there, we determined goals as a committee, not just about our current provider, but what did we want to look at as the food service ad hoc committee. And then we created a rubric that would be used to score all of our food service visits. We began to visit those food service providers, and we had a goal of March 9th to finish all of our visits and meet again as a committee to determine our current status with our food service provider and determine if we were going to go to a request for a proposal. On May 6th, we did sit down a few selected committee members we'll talk about, and that was our target date to evaluate all the proposals that came in. So it started with the food tour. As a committee, we signed up and we made our way around surrounding districts. We had our own diners, dive-ins, and dives, Monty edition. Unfortunately, Casey the Cougar couldn't join us, but they were with us in spirit. So we visited fellow districts that had a similar funding program to providing lunches and breakfast to their students, meaning we went to other schools that had the same options, funding that we were looking at and we are considering to keep with us as we move forward. While we were on each site, we wanted to interview not just the staff members there, but talk to the school staff and talk to the students. We wanted to explore the many options and how they approached the challenging year of feeding students. And of course, we wanted to taste the food that the food service providers made for us. We evaluated each provider. We created responsible expectations of what we would want to see in our Montgomery Township food service provider. And we wanted to determine if we should go to that request for proposal. And if we did, we wanted to know what our musts were.
So when we met, we had jotted down criteria that we were keeping an eye open for as we visited these different food sites. So we were looking for food quality, the variety of food offered within these programs, the creativity of the food, the staff interactions, the general environment of the cafeteria and the kitchen, management, how the staff was working, just the whole process of serving our students food. And we were also keeping an eye open for the ability to meet all of the needs of our students and staff, making sure that dietary restrictions were met, allergies were being reminded of, and then opportunities besides just serving our kids food in the cafeteria. Did they do anything within the community, within the school, offer any kind of programs? And so we visited a total of 5 places. We visited the Plainfield School District, where Mashio's Food Service is the vendor. We visited Hopewell Valley, where it's Pomptonian Food Service. We also did Chartwell's here at Montgomery. Princeton has NutriServe, and Hillsborough had Sodexo. And so these are just a few pictures of when we, visited these different places, just things that we noticed that we thought we wanted to keep in the back of our minds as we decided as a committee if we were going to go for RFP or not. So some of the things we noticed was, some of the school districts had unlimited fruits and vegetables, just presentation of how the food is spread. All the schools, all the vendors that we visited all participated in the SSO program. So we knew, that we were all sort of trying to compare more apples to apples as to the environment. We visited Chartwell's here at Montgomery, so we had an opportunity to go to both the high school and the elementary schools, all the districts we visited. We did both upper schools and lower schools since the programs kind of translate differently in the upper schools as they do in the lower schools. All the lower schools completely participated in the SSO program, where the upper schools at all the districts had an a la carte option, where students had the option to purchase meals if they were not didn't want to participate in the free meal being offered. And then we visited Sodexo and NutriServe at Princeton. The one thing we noticed at Princeton was they have their students sort their trash. So they have like signage, and they have a compost, they have a recycle, and they just had examples. They even do it at the lower schools, so it was pretty impressive to see the students kind of take initiative and be responsible for their own cleanup.
All right, so at our March 9th meeting, we met again as a committee, this time in person, and we reviewed our findings from the food tour. The committee voted on to proceed with the RFP or to retain, and the vote was a yes. So from there, we automatically went right into discussing what that RFP would look like. We discussed if we would participate in the lunch program for next year, and we listed criteria for the score sheet. So you'll see on the next slide, we came up with these various categories to include in our request for proposal. Now, the request for proposal was a new experience for most of us on the committee, as there is a lot of guidance and guidelines and rules that we have to follow as a public school, and Alicia and Cookie made sure we were all educated as we entered this process. So you'll see the categories are right in front of us. Total cost, and this category must have the highest weighting factor that's given to us from the state. Then we ranked food quality, meaning the menu options. We wanted it to be reflective of the diversity of our district and compliance to the dietary needs. And that's not just talking about vegetarians or those with gluten-free, but talking about those students that might have more complicated allergies that need to be met. Additionally, our next topic was staffing. We wanted to make sure they could meet the needs of our district. There was professional development provided to the staff, a dietitian accessible to all of our families that were participating in our schools, and a program for our staff with disabilities. We wanted to know about corporate capability and experience. What was their performance record? What DEI efforts do they have? And how do they involve the community? We also wanted to look at the stakeholder engagement. What type of programming could they add to our schools? And how do they collect and how do they respond to the feedback? We also wanted to know how this company would form a transition plan. How will they make sure that staffing needs are met, and how will they gain the trust of our community, our schools, and our board? And we were looking for a guarantee of a ending income, is that the right way to say it? Of $75,000. So you'll see all the percentages were ranked there, and that was used for our scoring. On May 4th, at 10 a.m., the bids were due. On that day, we received a bid from Chartwell's, NutriServe, and Mashios. On May 6th, a subset of the committee spent about 3.5 hours reviewing each bid and independently scoring each of our rubrics. So this was, I believe, a total of 6 people. 2 community members, Ms. Clark is here with us tonight, and Ms. Hudson. And then 2 staff members, myself and JP, the vice principal of the high school. And then, of course, Cookie and Alicia also got to review all the proposals. These proposals were huge. The binders, I kid you not, were like this. And I am so grateful that each member that was chosen to be on that subset committee did not hesitate to spend that 3.5 hours in the board office that day to go through it all, because it just showed how committed we were as a team to ensure that we were going to make the right decision for our students. The ad hoc committee food service committee is recommending Mashios food services for the next school year, 22-23. Mashios scored the highest in the overall score tally.
So what does that mean for us? So the next steps will be, obviously the board will approve the recommendation, and if it does, then we will begin a transition plan with the new vendor. We're going to develop, as a food committee, we're going to develop metrics for food service accountability. We want something in place where we can just make sure that the vendor is doing what we're asking of them. We'll also determine the involvement of all the stakeholders moving forward. So, it will be obviously our administrators, our students, and our community members, parents, families, and how, we can support the transition of a new food service provider. Ultimately, this ad hoc committee will remain till the end of this year. So, that's where we are.
And I'd just like to recognize our new partners in food service, our recommended new partners in food service, Mashios, Mr. Bakelman and Mr. Leader. They're here tonight. Thank you. If anybody had questions.
If anyone has any questions.
Including board members. If anyone has any questions, including board members.
Was it the best chicken sandwich?
That's the best chicken salad.
I don't know, can I my question? I don't know.
Mr. Messi.
I'm wondering for how many years is the initial contract?
Right now, the initial contract is for 1 year.
Right, so the RFP process is up to 5 years, ma'am. And this, on tonight's agenda, we're just asking for the 22-23 school year, in the hope that we would have an additional 4 if the board and the community is happy with Mashios.
Yes, ma'am?
Just curious, the new food service company coming in, with inflation going up, and prices of food, how is that gonna affect the quality of the food that's given? And how is the cost gonna be, is Mashios gonna absorb any of that cost, or can be passed on to the school district?
So I'm going to actually just answer part of that question, and then perhaps the Mashio folks could speak, best for themselves. Also on tonight's agenda, we do have the lunch prices for next school year, and you'll see that there was an increase. I know, do you want to take this cookie?
Yeah, it's about, the increase is about $1. So we haven't had an increase since
Before COVID.
Before COVID. And as we were meeting as a committee, some of the members of the committee are part of the PTA, and they had shared, I think back in 2017, the board had sent out a survey asking, I think the community, their thoughts on the food service, and if they, there would be an increase in price, what would that look like? And I believe back then, parents felt that if we were to increase, there was to be a correlation to the improvement in the food. And that just kind of didn't happen at that point. So then COVID happened, and as you know, last year happened too, which was why we as a board responded to the needs of the community and formed the ad hoc committee. And we decided that, we would be best served having a new food service provider who we thought, as we look at the proposal, served the needs of our students the best.
And when supply chain issues become a problem, and we can't get the food that's part of the meal plan, what kind of substitutes are you going to have, and how is that going to affect the food service quality at the school?
Can we have, we have Mashios, please? Thank you, Mark and Unati.
That was a great job, guys. Thank you so much. As I was watching the presentation, I said to Zelda, I said, wow, we did all that?
You can start doing some of my presentation. That was a great presentation. Great questions, and my name is Jeff Bakelman. I'm Regional Support Manager with Mashios. I also do their business development. In answer to your question about supply chain issues and rising inflationary costs and how that affects the contract, well, the RFP contained very specific specifications on product quality, grade, product grade levels, etc. So we're not permitted to deviate from that. So it is our responsibility to manage those types of issues that we have throughout the year. Now, we did take into consideration what the inflationary trends are when we were preparing our budget, so some of those costs were already factored into it. If something extraordinary happens, that's certainly something that will be addressed at the time, but again, we are bound to the criteria that was in the RFP on grades. With supply chain issues, we've already experienced some of those issues, but on a smaller scale. Mashios, we tried to get ahead of that by securing a lot of the primary center of the plate products that we use throughout our schools within the region. We advance buy. We buy containers of product which are allocated directly for us from our distributors who warehouse it and send it to us upon need. And we're continuing to do that. We're doing that with a lot of the new paper products because of the ban on polystyrene. So again, we're trying to be as proactive as we can to avoid some of those supply chain issues. The vendors that we use are primarily U.S. vendors, so we try to avoid anything that needs to be shipped in from overseas, expecting that there's going to be some delays when that occurs. So we take a lot of measures to avoid that. For the most part, the largest item that we've seen some some supply chain issues which would have required substitution has been with produce. And that's probably the most volatile, as it's all locally grown, but you know, there are a lot of factors that are going to affect what the yields are going to be on a lot of the commodities that we're going to be looking at for next year. So that's probably the one thing that keeps me up at night is produce. I know. In comparison to all the presentations and the wonderful things here, that seems pretty trivial. But I hope I answered your question.
Thank you. Yes, thank you very much. Any other questions? Mary, please continue.
I had a comment.
Oh, sure. Board members back.
So I just want to heap praise on the entire committee. I had a minor part in it, and I was able to watch what was being done, and I want to thank the community members. I especially want to thank, as it's already been done, but Cookie and Alicia and Zelda and Phyllis for their leadership on this. I think you know, good things are going to happen. A lot of work is put into it. I'll add one thing about the question of supply chain and things. That was one of the attributes we looked at, because we obviously, districts, including Montgomery, had supply chain issues and quality issues, which is why we started this process. And so we were able to compare and contrast what the other districts are doing. And so we're hopeful that that is going to bode for the future. So thank you to the committee though.
Okay, so back to the superintendent's report. I have an update on COVID cases and our protocols. So following spring break, we experienced an increase in COVID cases. Our team, in coordination with our school physician and with the local health department, has put mitigation strategies in place to reduce the spread of the virus. As we identified the increase, we sent out a communication to the community encouraging mask wearing. We are happy to report that although there are still cases, we have seen a marked decrease in positive cases over the last 2 weeks. The district will continue the mask optional and will continue to put mitigation strategies in place when necessary. Thank you all for your cooperation. As many of you know, in addition to the ad hoc food committee, the Board of Education has been committed to hearing the concerns of the community, in particular regarding the educational experience of our students. In response to numerous inquiries, the Board of Ed has established a special education ad hoc committee. One of the focus areas is early childhood literacy. Some of you here or are watching at home may have read the New York Times article regarding Lucy Hawkins. Our literacy model is not limited to one pedagogical approach or program. Instead, through our staff development, curricular resources, and assessment tools, we seek to a responsive teaching model. This year, we introduced 2 significant practices that have impacted elementary literacy instruction. We implemented a new universal dyslexia screener in kindergarten and piloted a beta version in 1st grade. Early Bird screener was developed and scientifically validated at Boston Children's Hospital in partnership with faculty at the Florida Center for Reading Research. In addition to assessing a wide range of early literacy skills and identifying areas of concern, the software also provides suggestions for classroom interventions and additional resources for the classroom. We are completing our 2nd year of Universal Design for Learning, UDL, which promotes planning to provide multiple ways for students to learn new skills, multiple ways to engage learners, and multiple ways for students to demonstrate their understanding. Through UDL, we have enhanced our core curriculum with additional resources of support for phonics, fluency, comprehension, and writing, including decodable texts and sound walls in our kindergarten classrooms. Teachers also attended professional development on utilizing formative data to provide targeted small group instruction to students who would benefit from additional supports in the areas of phonics, phonemic awareness, and decoding. We piloted the use of Bridge the Gap, a multisensory phonemic awareness intervention program published by Hegarty for use with several academic support groups at Orchard Hill Elementary and Village Elementary School. To learn more about the many literacy strategies utilized in our classrooms, please explore our K-4 literacy website located on the Language Arts Social Studies Department page of our district website. Our Director of Curriculum, Ms. Borland, our K-4 ELA Social Studies Supervisor, Ms. Monaco, and our Reading Interventionist, Mrs. Pankowski, continue to assess our programs, our methodologies, and our strategies. Last but not least, we started with Orchard Hill, the new vice principal, and we're going to end with Orchard Hill, talking about working hard and collectively to spread the excitement and information surrounding the full day kindergarten initiative. At a recent school concert, the announcement of full day kindergarten received an applause from the audience. We will continue to promote the academic, social, emotional development, and overall benefit of implementing full day kindergarten for our youngest learners. Thank you. That finally concludes the superintendent's report.
Take your time.
All right. Moving on our agenda, we have our first public comment. The Board of
I
Education.
have one more thing to say, just one more thing. I'm sorry, because I got a text during one of the presentations. So in light of the tragedy of today, the Montgomery Township Police Department will have a heightened presence at the buildings tomorrow as just a calming effect for our students. And staff, yes, of course.
Thank you, that's great. Thank you, Mary, for sharing that with everyone. So as stated, we're going to move into our first public comment this evening. So the Board of Education welcomes and encourages input from the public. Members of the public are allotted one opportunity to bring any new business, all right, to the board for up to a maximum of 3 minutes. Per speaker, all comments or questions must be directed to the board president. Before you make your comment, please state your name and address, and write both in the notebook on the podium that's provided there. Being mindful of privacy rights regarding students and board employees, and to avoid any potential liability on the part of the speaker, the board discourages references to specific individuals. While directing your comments or questions to the board president, please understand that the public comment portions of the meeting are not structured as question and answer sessions, but rather are offered as opportunities for you to share your thoughts with the board. The board president may need to refer an issue to the superintendent if the particular issue has not been handled through the appropriate chain of command with the school district. However, responses may be provided at the end of this session. There are times when comments and questions will require additional fact gathering before a response is provided. So Board Secretary Shower, you ready to start? So our first public comment is open. New business only.
Hello, I'm Karen Anderson. I'm at 926 Kane Court.
Good evening, Ms. Anderson.
The topic, I need a taller. The topic I want to discuss is the walkout event that occurred Wednesday, May 18th. There was an email that was distributed by the principal, the high school principal. The heading was Creating Confident, Compassionate, and Successful Leaders. It was directed to families, AKA parents and guardians. And it informed us that there was going to be a walkout. These students are planning a voluntary walkout and non-school sponsored walkout, where students on all sides of the issue will be able to share their personal viewpoints. In response to that, I sent an email to Mrs. McLaughlin with about 17 questions. I sent it on the eve, so I understand maybe there wasn't enough time, but yet I still have not received a response. Some highlights of my questions were, was a permit required? If so, who requested the permit? Was the BOE approval for this event? Did that exist, and when was that? When did that occur, and how did it occur? Was it in writing? What kind of security was provided? There was some address to security that at the start of 10 o'clock, the event started at 10:20, so at 10 o'clock, the school campus would be shut down, and no visitors or parents would be allowed on campus. So I'm not sure if that meant they didn't want parents. I'm not sure if we were allowed. I was actually working that day to be at the event. So the event occurred, and here we are. We have a proliferation of one-sided information, well orchestrated and well supported by the administration, where students on all sides of the issue will be able to share their personal viewpoints. Sorry, I don't know that that happened. Here is what could have been shared. This was about Roe versus Wade. Did anyone share that Roe never actually had an abortion? Did anyone share that Roe became a staunch advocate for life? Prior to our current ultrasound technology in 1973, it was considered to be a clump of cells, which led people to believe it was an easy thing to just get rid of with no concerns. We're much wiser today. Was there any discussion at this event that with an ultrasound you could see a baby move, you see all the parts, you hear the heartbeat? When you go to a pregnancy resource center, was this shared? A woman will receive information on her baby and get to see the visual of the ultrasound and get to hear the beating heart. If you go to Planned Parenthood, they restrict that ultrasound simply to be used to determine how large the baby is and how much to charge for the abortion. They don't want the woman to see the ultrasound. They don't want the woman to get attached to her baby. And if the baby grows, they encourage them to think about getting an abortion quickly because the abortion will cost more as the baby gets bigger. There are so many facts and resources of information to help a woman and its father make a well-informed decision, none of which was, I'm sure, shared.
Mrs. Anderson, you're approaching the 3 minutes. You could conclude with
Thank
your
you.
remarks.
Compassion. Was there compassion for the students that didn't go out? Maybe some of those students actually had an abortion. Maybe some of those students were considering abortion. Maybe those students had no idea what to do, but they all of a sudden hear this, saw one-sided information outside on the field. And do compassionate students post social media that says slay the babies away?
Thank you, Mrs. Anderson.
Unplanned. Abby Johnson, the facts about
Thank you very much.
what everyone needs to read and see.
Thank you, Ms. Anderson.
Thank you.
Hello, good evening, everyone. My name is Chen Zhong Wang. I live in. Please spell your information on the book. Yeah, I'm gonna write it down. I live in 21 Court Avenue. So this is a matter about our daughter.
Mr. Wang, as I said at the last Board of Education meeting, personal individual student information should not be shared in the public.
I'm not going to share the name. I'm not going to refer to any particular name. I'm just going to say because what I would say that that's the relationship between the girl and us. I hope it doesn't violate the rules. So, our daughter is a 6th grader in LMS, and she's been excluded from attending school for 3 calendar months. And we consider that out of the 3 calendar months, 58 days are illegal. So we sent a letter to the Board of Education Policy Committee members last night, and with all the details and supporting materials and our arguments and the relevant law sections that we can find. So I'm going to just briefly here. On February 25th, LMS provided us the parents' decision letter. According to the letter, that the student is suspended from Friday, February 25th.
Yes. Sir, this is about an individual student matter. It cannot be discussed in public.
So we can no longer continue with your comments in public here. You're going to have to arrange a private meeting to discuss your individual.
We already
students'
followed the
concerns.
procedure. We had a discussion with the principal and we had a discussion with the superintendent, and we follow the appeal process. Now it's time for the Board of Education to hear it, and if it doesn't resolve in the correct manner, then I think we'll continue the appeal process up to the school,
Yes.
the state commission.
I think that you should request a private meeting with the board.
Is that the process?
Because, Mr. Chenhua, because of the private and sensitive nature of the circumstance involving your daughter, the Board of Education will prioritize meeting with you
Okay.
and your wife privately, right? Because it's very sensitive and it is highly inappropriate to discuss your case at the board meeting this evening. But we will absolutely arrange a private meeting for you before the end of this week. I have assured Mary that we will avail ourselves so we can engage in this conversation and hear your perspective and provide some advisement and insight.
Okay, so that will be in front of pretty much the whole Board of Education.
It'll be in
At
front
least a
of
quorum.
the board members that we can have available at the time, so we don't violate the state sunshine law.
Oh, okay, I'm not aware of that.
So
Also.
there will be at least up to 4 of us present, so we can openly engage in the conversation.
How should I?
And we can accommodate your schedule. If in-person works, we will do our best for that. If a virtual, confidential virtual meeting works best for you and your wife's schedule, we will accommodate that as well.
Okay,
So Mary and her secretary, Ms. Lewis, will reach out to you in the morning, okay, tomorrow morning, which is Wednesday, May 25th, and we will schedule that meeting with you and your family.
Okay.
We assure you of
Just want to
that,
be a
sir.
little, because we are all busy parents.
We'll work around your schedule.
Yeah.
We will work around your schedule.
Thank you. We can no longer talk about
Thank
this
you so
topic in
much.
public. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for bringing this to our attention. We look forward to meeting with you.
Jeffrey Grant, 6 Livingston Drive, Belmead. And when I sign into the book here?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
So I wanted to thank Karen Anderson for her comments about the walkout last week. And I wanted to echo her recommendation at the end that students and the faculty and the board be aware of the movie Unplanned by Abby Johnson. In the interests of diversity, equity, inclusion, debate, information, this is an educational institution. You don't want the parents that are sending their kids to this school, the people that pay taxes in this school, to think that the school is only showing one side of a very, very important story. And I think Karen's point is well taken, that she held up the CD of the movie Unplanned by Abby Johnson. Someone speaking from the perspective of having seen the movie, it will change your life. And I think that the school board members, the students, staff, owe it to themselves and owe it to their duty to educate our children morally, to understand what this movie is about, to watch the movie, and to consider actually making it part of your curriculum. Thank you.
Thank you.
evening. My name is Joanna Pilak. I live on Culture Report in Skillman. And today I would like to address how my family and the community that I represent feel. We feel disrespected and discriminated against because the Catholic religion, the values of Catholic religion are not really valued in this community by the school district. So, in response to the state mandate to assign book that introduces students to gender identity concepts, our school assigned book by Liz Prince Tomboy. The book was approved by the board, but it's uncertain if the board actually took time to read the book or had knowledge of how poorly this book is written and what message this book communicates. It's true, the book checks the box, gender identity. However, nobody questioned how primitive and vulgar this book is. Nobody reviewed the content to question why the school would assign a book that targets Catholic religion, ridicules sacred Catholic symbols and values. When the students opposed the reading to this book and wanted the school to find appropriate substitute, they circulated a petition. They wanted to demonstrate how many students shared the same concepts. The petition collected many signatures. However, the principal, instead of engaging in mature and respectful discussion with the students, she intimidated the students and threatened them with an HIV report. That's not mature. That's not respect. That's not collaboration and educational for our kids. Parents brought their concerns forward to the board meeting. They even read out loud parts of the book, and the board was left speechless because of how vulgar and primitive that language is. The community expected an action to find a suitable substitute. There must be books published on gender identity that teach readers empathy, respect, and tolerance. The school not only disregarded our concerns, but decided to further harass the Catholic in this community by engaging the author of Tomboy to speak in person to our students last week. We have asked the board to intervene and bring another author, but our request did not even deserve a response. I would like the board to explain to the Catholic community why a book that ridicules Catholic religion was approved. Why did our high school host the author of Tomboy? What is next? A transgender artist who will portray a crucified Jesus in a dress and pink hair? Would you authorize a book that ridicules Muhammad or Hindu symbols of religion respect? I don't think so. That's discrimination. And I really want it to stop. And I really want someone to answer and be held responsible. Thank you.
Ms. Fields, the Superintendent McLaughlin has a reply for your comment.
I just have a couple of bullet points about the literature. So the theme of 9th grade English is identity. The theme is repeated and carried out through most of the literature read in the 9th grade. In response to the representation on the Catholic faith, I'm not sure if it was you who we replied back. We had a quote from the author, and on page 106 and 107, the writer shares her sincerity in her prayers. She attended a Catholic school, and they have her book in their library. On page 168, the writer demonstrates respect for the Mass by adhering to the dress code. And the drawing on page 172 was not meant as a mockery. The author explained it wasn't meant to be a humorous illustration. I don't consider it one of my book's jokes. It was just how I thought of that person when I remembered them. That's just part of the response I have for you.
I do appreciate that you reached out to the author. I mean, that was a very thoughtful gesture. but I respectfully disagree with that response to be appropriate. Because when you have a whole community that interprets her message in a disrespectful way, she needs to be mindful. And it's her right to publish that book and put it out there, and if people are willing to buy it, they can do that. But to have school insist on assigning that book when you hear from students and parents that we feel it's disrespectful, why? I mean, there must be other books on gender identity that are appropriate, that have proper language, beautiful writing, and teach kids about love and empathy. This book does not do that. So I'm not sure why we keep insisting on having that book present in our school. Find another book. We don't mind the subject. We mind this particular book because it's disrespectful and it's vulgar. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Viola.
My name is Charles Zorn. I reside at 18 Oxford Circle. I wanted to make two comments. One is with respect to Catholicism. Nancy Pelosi can no longer receive communion, Holy Communion, according to the Archbishop of, I believe it was San Francisco, because of her views on abortion. Number two is, I think there's a lot of disrespect of board members towards people who come up and speak. I've watched the body language of Alicia, Mary, and a few others, predominantly you two, and your facial expressions towards people who present viewpoints that are different than yours clearly emanates from your body language. So I would suggest that you pay attention to your body language and how you counter or perceive other people who have opinions that are different than yours. My two sons attended Montgomery schools. They were great. One went to a Federal Service Academy. One just graduated from Bucknell University. And Bucknell's having some problems in terms of discourse with respect. Ken Langone is the founder of Home Depot. He's a major funder at Bucknell University. He paid for the entire athletic complex. I don't think he's any longer donating to the school. Because people who are of conservative nature have been silenced, mocked, were unable to express their viewpoints on campus. So what he did was he bought a bank building down in the center of town across from the administrative building for Bucknell. It's called the Open Discourse Coalition. And it's a place, we'll call it a safe space, where people can come with different viewpoints to discuss topics that they want to discuss in an open manner where nobody is criticized, nobody's ostracized, and nobody's frowned upon. So you're going to see more of this occurring because people want to have that right to express their viewpoints without criticism. So I'm just saying to you, you might want to be a little bit more sensitive in terms of your body language to people who have viewpoints that are different than yours. And that's it. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Anya Jernigan. I'm here to follow up on our last meeting when you had a couple of the parents bring up the new health standards that are to be imposed on our school children starting next year. I appreciate the superintendent sending us synopsis or family-friendly version of some of the changes that we can expect. And for those of you online, I believe that the curriculum will be worked through at the end of August for all those different grades. So with collaboration from parents, we've pulled together some of the highlights of what I would say are more of the egregious standards that, going back to what you heard here from some of the parents on what we're uncomfortable with when it comes to our children. So I just wanted to share some examples, and this is based on the document that you shared with us. So by the end of the second grade, students will learn they will learn to list medically accurate names for body parts, including the genitals, and they will define reproduction. This is second grade, so we're talking 7 years of age, and that's referenced on page 27. By the end of 5th grade, students will learn how to explain common human sexual development and the role of hormones, romantic and sexual feelings, masturbation, mood swings, timing of puberty onset, that's on page 30. They also explain the relationship between sexual intercourse and human reproduction. It's also 5th grade. Now I just want to point out today in our school district, 5th and 6th grade is really where we have the health discussions, and boys and girls are separated during those discussions, particularly in 5th grade. And I can tell you, having 3 kids in the district, this was an experience for them. And it's not, I want to just clarify, I'm not a prude, and I have a lot of discussions with my kids. The point I'm trying to make here is that those discussions belong with me and my household. I don't necessarily feel comfortable with a teacher, and I'm curious to hear how teachers would feel comfortable discussing these types of topics in the classroom with their students. And another example I just wanted to give you, by the end of 8th grade, students will define vaginal, oral, and anal sex, that's on page 34, and identify factors that are important in deciding whether or not to engage in sexual intercourse. Once again, I am a mother of my children. I would like those discussions to stay in my household, not in the classroom. And another thing that I wanted to highlight, and I hope that we'll get some answers from the school district here. Some schools are choosing to opt out of this, and I think that's a wise choice. I don't think this is mandated by the state. It is my understanding, and I've collected some documents that I'm happy to share with you guys as well. In my opinion, this is a parental discussion, and I understand there are opt-out options. I would also like to better understand how in 2nd grade we don't really have a health lesson. Is that something that we'll be adding on, or these types of messages will be shared across other subjects? So these are very important questions that I'm hoping we can address in the upcoming session. Thank you so much.
Am I allowed to come up for a second comment, or is it not permitted? No, Jeffrey Grant, 6 Livingston Drive. My 3 kids came through the Montgomery school system, and I talk to parents around town, and we talk about the education standards that are being promulgated out of our governor's office and on the verge of being adopted by or implemented by the school board. And people really don't understand what's going on. I explain to them about, you're learning about masturbation in the 5th grade and learning about anal sex in the 8th grade. People really don't understand what's happening here. And the word is starting to get out. You're starting to see people here come and talk about this. But just in speaking to people about it, we're shocked. And in any other circumstance, outside of the regulations that the state has promulgated that you're considering, in any other circumstance beyond this regulatory process, this would be called pedophilia. That's what it's called at this age. That's what it's called. That's what you're promulgating. We really don't think it's appropriate. We're parents. I raise my kids. There's many people in the school system that can raise their kids. We'll choose when to teach them about these issues. We'll decide how to discuss them, how to approach them, and deal with it. We don't want our government doing that. We shouldn't be doing that. And a lot of people think it's immoral. So Thank you.
Christopher Wilson, Carriage Trail, to speak about Lucy Calkins' reply to the New York Times article. She wrote to her partner schools today that she's sorry the New York Times article badly misrepresents the work that she's been doing for all these decades. She further writes that some people are confused about the science of reading research, and rightly so. She states that this is the media trying to reignite the reading wars. I think this is very troubling. On the one hand, Lucy is stating that she's coming out with a new curriculum that is a reflection of her understanding of the parents of dyslexic children's concerns and the journey she's been on for the last 2 to 3 years, learning about the science of reading. Why should we trust the author and her organization and curriculum? And they've only come around to reading research, which has been around for 20 to 30 years in the last 2 to 3. Why should we trust an author and curriculum and their partners when they try to say that this is just the media stoking reading wars? These are not trusted partners for our district, and I hope we move away from Lucy and her curriculum, because dyslexic children do exist. They're in federal law under IDEA, students with disabilities. They're in our state laws, and parents of children who struggle to learn to read deserve to be listened to with respect and not say that they're part of some media campaign or make that implication or otherwise. So I'm really disappointed that the author of our district's K-8 reading curriculum came out with this guidance for its partner schools on how to talk about the New York Times article. And I hope that this district will push back on that and ask her to be a more respectful partner. And honestly, I hope we move away from Lucy Calkins. But I've made that clear in the past. I would like to add one more thing, which is that I had asked the board last board meeting to consider a policy based on the 2015 OSER's letter from the Department of Education, providing guidance to districts that there's nothing prohibiting them from using dyslexia in a student's individualized education plan. They guided the states to make sure that policies, practices, and procedures would be updated to reflect the same. And I would like to know that that same kind of guidance, if not in policy, is being provided from the director of special education to folks in the special education community here at Montgomery. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson. Are there any others for public comment at this time to bring any new business to the board? Okay, so at this time, ambiguity. Nonverbal communication is ambiguous. It does not have any one specific meaning. Therefore, and oftentimes, it leads to misunderstandings and misinterpretations of body language. Research is showing us it's less mixed, that body language can be culture bound because the meaning of body language cues varies depending on cultural factors, language, contact, time, space, constructs, purpose, drive. For example, head nodding can be confusing. Moving the head up and down, interpreted in Western civilization, indicates agreement, whereby in India, it means the opposite, disagreement. So forensic scientists are really the experts in this area, particularly to provide expert opinion in the court system. So on behalf of the Board of Education, and I apologize that there seems to have been some misinterpretation of body language on behalf of the Board of Education this evening. And any one of us would be more than happy to engage in further conversation in a non-public forum so that understanding can be achieved. So we're going to continue with the agenda for this evening. Mr. Jim Dolan.
Just very short. You said that nodding is...
Not at this time, sir. We can have a conversation.
There's a second public comment
When we
section
follow
at the
up.
end.
Right, but that's about that's for action agenda item only. But we'll have that discussion. Mr. Jim Dolan, at this time, he's going to provide the Mtea report.
Good evening, board members, administrators, colleagues, community members, both present here tonight and virtual. My name is Jim Dolan. I'm president of the Montgomery Township Education Association. I'm here with tonight's Mtea report. I am glad that we have a venue like this where we can actually have discussions and bring out all these different varied perspectives. I will admit it's very hard to follow that here tonight, but it is important to have that discourse. I do have some positive things to share, so we'll kind of get back to some of the celebrations that we had earlier tonight as well. So on April 25th, we had the pleasure of having an educational contingent from South Africa visit not only the high school, but also Village Elementary School. And these are educational leaders from the whole country of South Africa, all the different parts, representing all of the different schools that are there. And they are coming here to New Jersey to learn more about collaboration. And they decided to come to Village Elementary School and Montgomery High School to look at our practices. We had a great morning at the high school. We then moved over to Village in the afternoon. And then 2 days later, we convened back at Rutgers University to have a little debriefing session and to ask more questions and follow-ups as well. So we had everyone during those sessions actually represented. Of course, Superintendent McLaughlin, Madam President Spence Wallace, administrators, staff members as well. It was a real great thing and a great honor to have them here. So we look forward to them meeting in different venues and conferences in the future, and who knows, maybe we'll pay them a visit sometime soon. If you can bear the long flight halfway around the world.
He can bear the long flight.
We'll see how that goes. Last week we had our district leadership team meeting, and we focused, as said earlier, on a universal design for learning, or UDL. So our curriculum director, Ms. Fiona Borland, was able to give us an idea of where we were. She was able to visit all the school's SLTs to get an update, to see how things are going, to see how it could be rolled out specifically to different ages and different buildings. So we were able to get a nice update that way to see what's going on and see if she needed any other support or could answer any questions at each building level. The rest of the DLT meeting was focused on supporting the goal of implementing full-day kindergarten. And that's where many of our meetings will be focused going forward as well. And as I was watching with admiration all the reports that were going on earlier tonight, I think we're doing it wrong, Mary, I think, and the board. I think we just need a couple high school students. They got it covered. They can make videos, they can present. So I don't think we're needed. We just have to leverage those high school students, and that will be covered. So
I concur.
That was quite evident tonight.
Yeah.
Amazing job that they're all doing. Our scholar athletes, our science, and also our robotics clubs. Just simply amazing. I know some of you had a chance to attend or heard about it. We had our 20th annual Music from the Heart production of Shrek. Just some of our stats here. We sold over 1,600 tickets, raised over $15,000, and all of that money goes towards high school scholarships. We gave out 5 scholarships this year to high school seniors. Since its beginning, 20 years ago, we raised over $145,000 for high school scholarships. So it's a great program that involves over 50 staff members in our district. We also have some retirees and also some community members. So it really is a wonderful event that brings everyone together. And we look forward to whatever next year is going to bring as far as what the show will be. So I don't even know yet. They keep that a secret from me too. Another thing that we got involved with and we're happy to attend was the board retreat that we had, learning about the book titled Turn the Ship Around by David Marquette. Fantastic book if anyone wants to read it in our community or anyone that hasn't read it. So thank you for inviting me as the MTEA to represent and be a part of that. The presentations that we all did were fantastic. We learned a lot from it. So it was a real great experience and a wonderful board retreat. So I was happy to be a part of it and be invited into the board retreat. Typically that's not something that happens, but as you can see in Montgomery, we do things differently and we try to do things better. And we do, just by going outside the boundaries or pushing the boundaries and doing different things that other districts don't do. And last, I'm sure all the board knows this already, but to say for the public and something to celebrate too. I sent out a message to our membership just this morning that we did meet for 7 hours yesterday. 7 hours to add to all of the other hours that we met between the MTA negotiating team and the Board of Ed negotiating team, and we came to a tentative agreement last night. So that's fantastic. So what's amazing with this is we learned about interest-based bargaining, we applied those principles, and went through the process, and it worked. And it worked fantastic. We had a great team, a respectful team. We talked about some issues, we worked through the issues, and here we are with a tentative agreement ready to go before the end of the school year. So I want to thank the board for willing to participate in that interest-based bargaining because it really does make a difference. It made things easier, and the respect that each side and the perspective that each side gained, I think is just amazing because you need to understand our different lenses, our different perspectives, and we're able to do that and come to a conclusion. So all positive stuff. I thank you all, and certainly if you have any questions, certainly otherwise, appreciate the time and sharing all of the good things that are going on in Montgomery. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Joel. And next we have on our agenda board member delegate representative reports.
The Municipal Alliance of Montgomery and Rocky Hill, I went to their meeting this past month, and we spent a lot of time talking about prevention programs, fentanyl awareness, and just New Jersey harm reduction. Also, in light of May being Mental Health Awareness Month, we also spoke at great length about mental health, signs of hope, things, using social media to really help to bring awareness. The signs that were out last year around town will be going back up. The Don't Give Up signs that they were by the Montgomery police station. There were some on the school properties, but those signs would again hopefully be able to be put up, although I did not see them this month. We also talked about how 988 is going to be designated as a 3-digit dialing as of July of this year for like 911, but for mental health issues. So 988 will be the all across the U.S., but we talked about that. And it was also brought to the attention of the group by one of the high school representatives that state testing happens during Mental Health Awareness Month. So I know that that was also brought up again tonight, and then just that's something just that we should all be thinking about. That's it from my update.
Thank you, Board Member Spina. Any other reports?
So in a second, is that
Mm-hmm.
we have a slide out, there it is. So I went to the Montgomery Special Education PTA as it is on Thursday. And let's see, so they'd like everyone to know that they had a fundraising event at Montgomery Park with music games, crafts, and a bake sale on Friday, June 3rd. You get all those things plus dinner provided by Benjaminos for $25 a person, or $6 for a family of 5. They wanted me to let everybody know that. So funds raised in events like this go to support the special ed community in Montgomery. As an example, this year's special ed essay contest winner has been awarded $2,500.
Wow,
Yeah.
excellent.
Yeah. At the meeting last week, they held the elections for their board officers for 22-23, and they will appoint the board of directors. So they have 3 requests from the school district. First, they know that there hadn't been a teacher liaison to the group for some time, so they wanted if they could get some representation at meetings. Also, let's see, a request that there be some sort of a district-wide calendar available where all the school events and planning could be noted. The problem was that they had a little frustration with apparently 2 meetings they missed that they would like to attend to, and then this conflict with their wine party. And finally, a request, there was a 2020 survey among the Montgomery special ed community, and I guess it showed a bit of frustration, and they were hoping for some follow-up on that with an audit. I guess one had been discussed within the district, and they're hoping to understand where that frustration came from within the special ed community. That's the report.
Thank you, Board Member Carlson.
Any other reports? Hearing none, we will move to our board committee reports at this time. I will begin with our assessment curriculum and instruction report. So our meeting took place Wednesday. Our meeting took place on Wednesday, May 4th, 2022, and I am the chair of that committee, and I share that responsibility with our Assistant Superintendent of Schools, Mr. Damian Papa. So the meeting began with our Data Equity and Accountability Director, Stacy Young, that reminded us for the month of May, we're celebrating Jewish American Heritage Month, Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, Mental Health Awareness Month, and National Haitian Heritage Month. She went on to share with the committee that the listening tour during the month of March took place at 5 of our schools and at the Board of Education office. And one of the recurring themes that was observed was a curiosity around the lack of representation in the curriculum. So there was mention of how voices and perspectives are missing from being heard, and also don't necessarily represent the joy and the resilience with particular subgroups within our community. So Ms. Young reported that we need to make connections between inclusive practices as well as representation. So our ideology impacts our instruction, and when we have this in our minds, the district will review and continue to review the inclusivity within our classrooms. There was discussion at the meeting around the health and physical education standards. And what I am able to publicly share at this time, that in some private conversations with individual board meetings, we're going to continue to participate in that oversight with the administration here, because there are concerns about the age appropriateness of those standards. Ms. Jernigan, for example, that you cited, one of them this evening. So we're going to continue in those conversations. The staffing will continue to work diligently on ensuring that there is compliance, but the priority is the overall safety and well-being of our students. And while parents don't vote on and approve our curriculum, we are always welcome to your input and feedback, because as a district that fully participates in the collaborative initiative, we recognize and hear your voices as well. So thank you for sharing your opinions and perspectives. We take that under serious and considerable advisement, and we're very appreciative of that. So next month, I will provide a more in-depth presentation, and I'm really excited to do so. We have two staffing within district, Vince Figueroa and Wendy Galinas, that talked about our Peer Buddies program. And there's a Peer Leadership 2, which is a second tier of the program that was created by Claire Scarpa, and it builds upon the Peer Leadership program that begins with juniors at the high school. So next month, I'm excited to go into more detail about that awesome experience. Then our Director of Counseling Services, Ms. Corey Gaylord, presented to the board at the meeting that there was a Healthy Families presentation at Orchard Hill on April 27th. And it addressed the issues of anxiety in alignment with our Mental Health Awareness Month. We're finding that our K-1-2 students are definitely exhibiting symptoms around general anxiety disorder and other mood adjustment disorders, and we recognize that, and many are attributing that to a number of them not ever attending the brick and mortar building as a result of the pandemic. So we continue to be committed to hiring additional staffing to provide those counseling services and to support those students and their families. She also informed us, this is AP exam month, and so those took place between May 2nd and May 13th this month, and that the scholarship, the senior scholarship interviews were held, and that awards night will take place on June 8th at the high school. June 2nd will be the academic awards night. And then finally, our Director of Special Services, Kristen Taylor, provided an update around the request for proposal, RFP, to identify an agency or consultant to conduct a new audit of our department and how it relates and interacts with other departments within our district, and its impact and perceptions and opinions of students and teachers and parents. So sadly, there weren't any responses to our bid. And Board Member Shower, would you please remind me if we're either going to bid again, or I know that we can collect a quote if the cost is under $44,000. So which direction are we going there?
So my most recent conversations with Ms. Taylor were that the costs were going to exceed $44,000.
So
So,
we just
excuse me, it would
post it
require, it would require us to go back out to bid.
Okay.
But understanding that when we bid the first time, it was for the 21-22 school year because we did it in April. So our hope is that when we bid for the 22-23 school year, we'll get a better response.
Okay, great. I'm hopeful too. Thank you. And Ms. Taylor reported that she met with our Special Education Parent Advisory Group, MCPAG, and they provided some input and feedback on the construction of that RFP, and we will continue to do so. All right. So now we will hear from Board Member Spina, who will give us just a quick update and report on the Equity Committee as well as our Anti-Racism and Reform Subcommittee.
Mr. Todd will give the Equity Committee update from our May 9th meeting.
Oh, wonderful, thank you.
I got it. So this is on behalf of Committee Chair Phyllis Bursch. Yes, very brief actually. So during our May 9th meeting, Stacy Young, Director of Equity, Data, and Accountability, gave us a report on the various equity committees currently at work in the district. And also, since this is a very new committee, we will be working on our committee charter at the next meeting. And that's all I have.
And as far as the Anti-Racism and Reform Subcommittee, we read an article together around Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month. The article is entitled "The Power of Reclaiming My Asian Name," and we had an in-depth discussion around that. We also started to poll the members that were able to be there on potential name changes to become more of a all-inclusive group, and we're also looking to the Equity Committee as they form their new charter, how that will impact the subcommittee. And Ms. Young is also going to be helping us to get together a list of potential DEI speakers for the group, and we're going to continue to have community outreach to try to get more community members involved in more of those DEI initiatives. That's that.
Okay, thank you. Second VP Todd and Board Member Spina. So next we will hear from Board Member Speck. Are you going to do it?
Yes,
So
I
Board
will-
Member Speck,
I
you will
will-
do the OFF, Operations, Facilities, and Finance Committee report, followed by your Policy and Communications Committee report.
Yes, that's true.
Thank you.
Yes. Yes, so I'm filling in for Sharish, and I encourage if Ms. Franco-Herman or Mr. Carlson have any comments to fill, to backfill me, that would be great. But the OFF committee met on May 13th. Many of the topics we've discussed in advance of the board meeting have already been discussed tonight, but I'll just highlight a couple of things. So we did go through the food service report, and Ms. Franco-Herman had given us a heads up on and gone through many of the items we covered tonight. We talked about the lunch prices. One of the issues that the district was aware of, but we received encouragement from one of our township residents, was the condition of the driveways and pavements, particularly at the high school, but it affects some of the other buildings. And so that we have identified a vendor to work with on that, who has come through and reviewed, done a site visit to review what needs to be done. And one of the challenges, of course, is finding a vendor who, not the vendor, but finding their staff and being able for them to schedule it, getting material, the asphalt would be necessary, and also obviously scheduling it around the district needs. But that is definitely going to be happening, and so hopefully nobody's tires will be hurt in the meantime. Another thing we discussed is since the lower middle school is actually built, we've used an outside contractor. It may have been changed over time, but we've had an outside contractor doing the custodial services at that building. And over time, we've just identified that that's really not effective. And so we had already appointed a head custodian who's a district employee to be over there and overseeing the custodial activities. So the committee then discussed kind of the next phase for bringing that work in-house. And finally, as we always do, Ms. Schauer reviewed the other financial items that are the 3.x agenda items for tonight. So that was the OFF meeting. And then for the policy meeting, as typical, there were no updates to the policies that we had for first reading last month, and so they're up for second reading and adoption tonight. That's happening. There are new policies for first reading, and we had a fair amount of discussion on several of them, and discussed those, resolved the questions, made some slight changes, and so they're up for acceptance tonight for first reading. And then the final thing we covered was kind of communications areas, and I've previously talked about the communications consultant that the district is working with. He's now kind of completed his survey and interviews process, and so he's going to be presenting recommendations to district administrative teams and some board members, and really trying to figure out what we're going to be doing to advance our communications. One of those topics, as was discussed, was working on the second question to establish full-day kindergarten, and so that's another area where the superintendent's already talked to us about what needed, and Mr. Dolan had mentioned also. So I think that covers both of those committee meetings. Do you have anything you'd like to add?
Thank you, Board Member Speck. So next, we will hear from First VP Franco with our Human Resources Committee report.
I'm going to be very short. We met May 17, and for the most part, we talked about personnel agenda, vacancies, and the superintendent putting forth a new vice principal for Orchard Hill, and that was what we discussed for the most part.
Thank you. And as stated earlier, I'm going to move the President's report for the month of May to the month of June, and I will be specific in providing a presentation on that peer leadership 2 program. So at this time, the Board of Education has 4 meeting minutes to approve, and they are 2 for April 26th, both the executive session and business meeting. The 3rd is May 11th, 2022, special meeting, which was our board retreat day. It was a wonderful day. And then 4th and final, May 16th, 2022, an executive session meeting. So may I have a motion to approve these 3 meeting minutes, please?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, great. Hearing none, we'll continue. At this time, I would just like to acknowledge the correspondence to the board. There were 4 through to this monthly meeting. So now at this time, we will have our second public comment. Members of the public are allotted 1 opportunity to address the board regarding the action agenda items only for up to 3 minutes during this period. All comments or questions must be directed to the board president. The board president may need to refer an issue to the superintendent if the particular issue has not been handled through the appropriate chain of command within the district before coming to the board for a response. All responses will be provided at the end of this session, if appropriate, unless further fact-gathering information is required. Hearing none?
Sorry, just very, very short that like I said earlier, is that your comment on nodding, right, and saying that we're in Western culture, nodding meaning agreement. From my experience with the diverse population during my work and the living environment, that it could also mean that it's a acknowledgement that I heard you, not necessarily agreement.
Thank you. Right. The forensic science has proven that body language analysis is unreliable. All right, so at this time, I would like a motion for the action agenda items. We have 1.1 through to 4.6.
Are there any items that need to be separated out?
Please do so. Yeah, when you're called upon during roll
So,
call.
1.1C, we want separated out, which is HIV, correct?
By number, right? Board member Shower?
Right, so we're just going to ask the board members if you want to abstain or if you want to carve anything out of 1.1C, just abstain by case number, just to make it clear for the minutes. So we need a motion.
So moved.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much, Shower. I'm nervous.
And we're going to vote slowly so we can get
Yes,
it
so
right.
we can document our votes accurately. Thank you, Board
Okay,
Secretary
so
Shower.
everybody take their time.
Yes.
Mr. Carlson?
So, yes to everything. 1.1C, I've got 2 abstains, 230816, 230375, and 3 noes, 230789, 230423, 229497.
Thank you, Mr. Carlson.
I
Could you
vote them all down, I'll
just,
give it to you later.
can you just repeat
Can you
it for the
repeat
record,
those?
please? Just so we get it.
Yeah.
The noes? I went too
No, just
fast.
start at the beginning.
I went too fast, okay.
Yes to everything.
Okay.
Accept.
Yes to everything except 2 abstains. Those are 230816, 230375, and 3 noes.
Got it.
Okay. Those are 230789, 230423, 229497.
Great, thank you. Ms. Franco-Herman?
Yes to all, abstain on 3.8.
Mr. Specht?
Yes.
Ms. Spina?
Yes.
Mr. Todd?
Yes.
Dr. Spence Wallace?
Yes.
Motion's carried. Thank you.
Thank you, Board Member Shower. And we are at the end of our meeting, ladies. Gentlemen, and Renee.
It was fun.
It's been an absolute delight to serve all of you this evening on behalf of the board, the superintendent, her cabinet. We're so appreciative for your thoughtfulness, your challenge, your patience, your communication of accountability, and subjecting us to it. We ran for office or interviewed for office, knowing the responsibility, and unlike the inaccurate assertion earlier, there isn't any of the 9 board members that doesn't value the First Amendment. It is very dear to each and every one of us. So at this time, we would just like to thank you again for your participation, and without objection, I would like a motion to adjourn our May 24, 2022 meeting.
So moved.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?